Welcome to the deep dive. We unpack complex topics to give you, well, the essential insights.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're diving into something that touches nearly everyone: Social Security, and specifically the taxes on benefits.
Right.
You've probably heard a lot of talk, rhetoric maybe, about eliminating these taxes, but what's the actual reality? What's buried in the legislative text?
It's striking, isn't it, how political messaging can differ, sometimes quite a bit, from the finer points of a bill. The recent One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBBA, passed, July 2025. It tells one story in its headlines, but a very different one when you actually dig into the details.
Okay.
And this really sets up a sharp contrast with an alternative proposal our sources covered, the You Earned It, You Keep It Act.
Right?
So, our mission today really is to try and cut through some of that noise and show you exactly what these proposals could mean for your benefits and, importantly, for the future of Social Security itself.
Okay, let's unpack that. No tax on Social Security benefits. That's a powerful message from the OBBBA. But you're saying the reality is more nuanced. What did you find in the specifics?
Well, what's really noteworthy here is that the OBBBA does not actually eliminate the tax on Social Security benefits. Not directly, anyway.
How does it work then?
Instead, it creates a temporary income limited tax deduction, basically an extra $6,000 standard deduction, but only for seniors aged 65 and over.
Okay, so temporary. How temporary?
Just for the 2025 through 2028 tax years. And crucially, it phases out.
Phases out, meaning?
Meaning if you're an individual earning above $75,000 or a couple above $150,000, that deduction starts to shrink and eventually disappears.
I see. So millions of beneficiaries, like say people under 65 on disability or retirees with higher incomes, they don't actually benefit from this part at all.
That's correct. It's targeted and it's temporary.
Okay, so this tax relief, it sounds like it's just one piece, maybe even a small piece of a much larger bill. What else is bundled into the OBBBA according to our sources?
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the OBBBA's main function really is permanently extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That's a multi-trillion-dollar package itself.
Multi-trillion, okay. How's that paid for or offset?
Well, to partially offset it, the bill enacts over $1 trillion in spending cuts to certain social safety net programs. We're talking primarily Medicaid and SNF, the Food Assistance Program.
Cuts like what?
Things like new work requirements, stricter eligibility checks. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, actually projects this could cause millions to lose health insurance.
Wow. Anything else major in there?
Yeah, it also directs hundreds of billions towards border security and defense spending, while simultaneously rolling back some clean energy initiatives. It's quite a mixed bag.
And what does all this mean for the federal budget and, getting back to Social Security's future?
This raises a really important question. Non-partisan analyses project the OBBBA will add somewhere around $3.3 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade.
$3.3 trillion, okay?
And crucially, by reducing that taxable income for some seniors through the deduction, it indirectly lowers the overall revenue that goes into the Social Security and Medicare trust funds.
Okay, so less money going in.
Exactly. And this is projected to actually accelerate the Social Security OASI, that's old age, and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund's insolvency date by about 1 year, pushing it forward to 2032.
Okay, so that paints a picture of one path.
Yeah.
But our sources highlighted a completely different approach. This You Earned It, You Keep It Act. How did that compare?
Right. This alternative, it's fundamentally different. It proposes a direct and permanent repeal of all federal taxes on Social Security benefits.
All taxes for
all beneficiaries, regardless of age, regardless of income, universal repeal.
Okay, that sounds like a big tax cut. How is that funded?
Critically, it fully funds this tax cut by applying the Social Security payroll tax to all covered earnings above $250,000. Right now, there's a cap on earnings subject to the tax. This removes that cap for higher earners.
I see. So lifting the cap pays for the repeal?
Precisely. And it makes the funding mechanism, more progressive.
So what's the projected long-term impact on Social Security's solvency with this approach?
Right.
Especially with that funding change.
The Social Security Administration's chief actuary looked at the structure. Their finding is pretty striking. It wouldn't just provide universal tax relief.
Right.
It would also dramatically improve Social Security's long-term finances. It's projected to extend the solvency of the combined trust funds by 24 years.
24 years?
Yes, pushing the projected depletion date all the way out to 2058. And it also projects a significant reduction in long-term federal debt. Quite a contrast.
That is a huge difference. Okay, maybe we should quickly step back. To really grasp these proposals, how did we even get here? Why are benefits taxed in the first place? It seems, well, counterintuitive to many people.
It's a good question. For almost 50 years after Social Security started, the benefits were completely tax-free. But then in 1983 and again in 93, you had these bipartisan reforms. Think Alan Greenspan Commission in 83. They introduced taxation on benefits specifically to shore up the program's solvency during some looming funding crises.
So it was about saving the program.
Essentially, yes.
Right.
To ensure it could continue. But here's the key detail, the really compelling part. The income thresholds they set back then, the points where benefits start being taxed, they were never indexed for inflation.
Never indexed.
Right. So, over decades, as incomes rose generally, more and more people got pulled into paying taxes on their benefits. It's called bracket creep. A tax originally aimed mostly at higher earners now hits over half of all beneficiaries, including, plenty of middle income seniors.
Just because those dollar amounts from the 80s and 90s haven't changed.
Okay.
Exactly. So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've basically seen two very different visions laid out.
Mm-hmm.
The OBBBA offers this temporary indirect tax deduction for some seniors, tucked inside a much bigger bill with permanent tax cuts elsewhere and significant safety net reductions. And it's projected to speed up Social Security's insolvency slightly.
Whereas the EIKI Act offers a direct universal permanent tax repeal for all beneficiaries, and it's funded by that progressive payroll tax change, which also crucially extends Social Security's solvency by, decades.
It really highlights a fundamental clash, doesn't it? Different philosophies, different trade-offs.
Absolutely.
The choice involves pretty profound implications for fiscal responsibility, for tax equity, and really for the future shape of America's social contract. What stands out most to you when you compare these two very different ways to approach supporting seniors and the safety net?